Okay, what's wrong with you? What's going on?
Oh, I just feel so grungy on the inside. I can't even pray. I have no peace at all.
Is this about the cameraman thing? You told me that you guys buried the hatchet.
Okay, I'll tell you what happened, but put that down first. What are you doing anyway?
I'm coming up with a floor plan for the auditorium. I'm trying to figure out the best configuration for the pews.
And you need a board as big as you to do it.
Hey, I think big, I plan big.
Anyway, so what happened was I talked to Patrick. I told him how upset and hurt I was, but it all just seemed one-sided. Like he's hardly said 2 words to me since then.
Like action and cut?
Yeah, instead of very and sorry.
Yeah, well, you did your part. You forgave him, so you don't have to feel bad on the inside.
I have forgiven Patrick, but I still feel strange about the relationship because he never apologized.
Action!
Yeah, there you go. There he goes again. That's all he says.
I was telling you what to do.
Stand by. And shoot!
Okay, there we go. I just feel like the relationship is strained.
Yeah, but what you are feeling is better than living with bitterness and anger all the time.
Of course. And you know, I actually didn't want to forgive him. It was only when I realized just how sinful I am and how much I need forgiveness that I was able to extend forgiveness to him.
Yeah, and when God reveals our great need for forgiveness, it helps us see others the way that Christ sees them, as sinners in need of forgiveness. And when we're able to see that, then we're actually just truly able to forgive.
Is that why you're always so quick to forgive? Because you're in a constant awareness of your own great sinfulness?
No, you help me be in a constant awareness of my own sinfulness.
Oh, honey. No, actually, I really appreciate that about you.
Do you appreciate my sinfulness?
No, your sinfulness is a pain in the neck. What I appreciate about you is that you're so quick to forgive. You're a good man, hon.
Well, actually, you don't leave much to forgive for. But I was just reading an interesting article about forgiveness, and it was by Corrie ten Boom. Do you know anything about her?
Yeah, of course. A Dutch woman, and during World War II, she protected some Jewish people, and then she ended up being in prison for that.
Yeah, so she talked about the healing that came from these people who were victims of the Holocaust and the healing that came from when they forgave their captors. Let me just read what she said here. Since the end of the war, I had a home in Holland for victims of Nazi brutality. Those who were able to forgive their former enemies were able also to return to the outside world and rebuild their lives, no matter what the physical scars. Those who nursed their bitterness remained invalids. It was as simple and as horrible as that.
And sadly, nursing this bitterness, that's what a lot of us choose to do. I think there's actually a misconception out there that unless somebody asks for forgiveness, we can't forgive them. And that certainly is not true.
Yeah, if someone doesn't ask us for forgiveness, we can still forgive. We just, read the people that Corrie ten Boom worked with, they did that. But to see true reconciliation, I think there needs to be an apology and a request for forgiveness.
That's how it works in our relationship. We can forgive each other without actually even talking about the offense.
Yeah, but to really restore our relationship, one of us actually has to apologize for something. And that's what I appreciate about you. You're always quick to apologize and quick to forgive.
Thanks, son. Whenever I think of forgiveness, my thoughts always end up turning towards Joseph.
Anita's band teacher? What happened to him?
No. Joseph from the Bible.
Okay, Mary's husband. What did Mary ever do to him?
No, think further back, like coat of many colors.
Okay, that's a Dolly Parton song. I think we're getting way off track here.
I don't think guessing games work very well for us. I'm just going to lay it out here for you, dear.
Good, I think I need that.
I'm talking about Jacob's son, Joseph, and we start reading about his story in Genesis 37. So Joseph's brothers were some ways away out in the field with the flock, and then Jacob sent Joseph to go see his brothers. Now, when they saw Joseph coming from a distance, they actually plotted to kill their brother.
Ooh. Okay, listen to this. I found it here. So when Joseph came to his brothers, they stripped him of his robe, the robe of many colors that he wore, and sold him to the Ishmaelites for 20 shekels of silver. They took Joseph to Egypt. So they led their father to believe that Joseph was dead, and it said that Jacob refused to be comforted.
Honestly, it sounds like the plot to a really bad movie, but it actually happened. And Joseph's brothers were so jealous that they were willing to sell him as a slave. Like, honestly, we think that our kids have problems. Nothing like this.
Okay, and so far this has nothing to do with forgiveness.
Right, so let's fast forward a little bit, because a lot of other bad things happened to Joseph, but eventually he ends up being warned by God in a dream about the future of Egypt, that there's going to be a famine. And in the process of this, Joseph actually ends up being the second in command of all of Egypt.
Okay, so I'm going to read Genesis 41, starting at 46. Joseph was 30 years old when he entered the service of Pharaoh, king of Egypt. During the 7 plentiful years, the earth produced abundantly, and he gathered up all the food of these 7 years, which occurred in the land of Egypt, and put the food in the cities. The 7 years of plenty that occurred in the land of Egypt came to an end, and the 7 years of famine began to come, as Joseph had said. So when the famine had spread over all the land, Joseph opened all the storehouses and sold to the Egyptians. For the famine was severe in the land of Egypt. Moreover, all the earth came to Egypt to Joseph to buy grain, because the famine was severe all over the earth.
All the earth came to Joseph, and that includes even his brothers. And now Joseph had all the power in the world. He could have done whatever he wanted to them. He could have enslaved them as they had enslaved him. He could have put them in prison. He could have even killed them.
But listen to what he said to them. And now, do not be distressed or angry with yourselves because you sold me here. For God sent me before you to preserve life. For the famine has been in the land these 2 years, and there are yet 5 years in which there will be neither plowing nor harvest. And God sent me before you to preserve for you a remnant on earth, and to keep alive for you many survivors. So it was not you who sent me here, but God.
Joseph gave them all the best of the land of Egypt. He was so generous with them, gave them land, gave them food. Honestly, he just went out of his way to bless them. And I really like the verses that you read, because I think it gives us some insight into how Joseph was able to forgive them.
Yeah, what he said to them is, so it was not you who sent me here, but God. See, he trusted God, and he could see how even though his brothers had intended this whole situation for evil, God had greater plans for him, and God had good plans for him.
I've heard it said that forgiveness and reconciliation aren't emotions, and that makes sense to me. Like, I think of it more as a conscious, deliberate decision to do the right thing regardless of how we feel about a person or about circumstances.
Yeah, we shouldn't wait for some sort of emotion to want to forgive somebody. Often the decision to forgive comes before the emotions, and so we shouldn't wait until we're face-to-face with somebody to do it.
Definitely. We need to settle that matter in our hearts first. And actually, if we wait until we're face-to-face with someone, the anger and the resentment could become overwhelming.
Yeah, and by pursuing those steps to reconciliation first with God, God's able to do a work in your own heart and in your own mind, so that when you're face-to-face with that person, you can extend that same grace and mercy to them that God offers.
When we think that our Heavenly Father has forgiven us and reconciled us to Himself through His Son's sacrifice on the cross, definitely we ought to forgive others. And not only that, but even help them to be reconciled to God if we can.
But we could miss that opportunity, that great honor to be able to forgive somebody and extend that to them.
Well, I'm already feeling a lot better, hun. Thanks for talking about this with me. Because, in short, a person can be ready to extend forgiveness long before the face-to-face opportunity arises. In fact, even if that opportunity never presents itself, we can walk in the freedom of forgiveness by choosing to release that bitter anger in our own heart and mind. Reconciliation and forgiveness are not primarily emotions. They are conscious decisions to treat a person a certain way regardless of what emotions might dictate. So very often the Lord allows the emotions to follow the decision, and this enhances the freedom of forgiveness with joy. As Christ has reconciled us to God, so we ought to reconcile with those who have wronged us, and we should seek to direct them to be reconciled with God.
Celeste, I'm so touched.
Oh, well,
This is for you.
well, you didn't have to do that, but
I'm so
thank you.
sorry.
Oh,
Did you forgive me?
I forgive you.
Yeah.
Oh.